in my note here. Okay, welcome everyone to our discussion of Darkei Talmud. I'll just add a little note here. I was very happy to see that the student of his student, which is Reb Yosef Cairo, wrote a sefer on this type of methodology. Actually, what he did was there was a person who came before him called Halichos Olam that wrote a study of the various foundation moves in learning, and he wrote a commentary on it. So, Bezrat Hashem, I'll be learning with my Charuso. But it's a powerful method when you have things organized and you understand what you're doing consciously, so you're able to be much more precise and much more clear in your learning, and also understand what you don't understand. You can magdir, you can define what you don't understand. We're holding here in the next to the last chapter of the Sefer, where he's describing the key operating words. Now here's one where he described this set of moves. He's described before in the Sefer. I'll just go through it and we'll take one example. But it's a very, very critical set of moves. Okay, so this one is called Peshita, and it goes with Salkadaita Chamina, Mahudasema, and ends with Kamashmalan. Okay, so we have, let him spell it out, and then we'll give a quick example that we brought before. Peshita, Zehaloshen Yoma Kasher Hadavahu Mavuar Ve'en Alav Shum Cholek. This operating word the Gemara uses when the text in front of us seems to be very understood and no one argues about it. So if it's so obvious, then we ask Peshita. Ukamachuhu muskal rishon. Here's that word again, and it's almost like an axiom. Okay, like fire is hot. It's a muskal rishon. She'ein bo shum chiddush. That there's actually no chiddush at all. So that's what he says. That's Peshita. Peshita means we see a statement in front of us that seems obvious. We've learned it before. It's well known. There's no reason to say it. Aval im yesh bo shum machlokes ben tano letano mora ein akshus Peshita. But if the statement before us is a machlokes, so then you don't say Peshita. Okay, because it's a chiddush that A is saying that statement, because someone else is not saying it. So Peshita is only asked when we don't see any dissenting opinion, and we don't see any need to say this statement. In response to the Peshita, we have to produce a reason why the statement was said, and a reason why the statement is a chiddush. And that's the second move, which is Salkadaita Chamina, Mahu, or Mahu Desema. The same thing. Salkadaita Chamina means what would have arose in your mind if he hadn't have said it. And Mahu Desema, what would you have said if he didn't say it? What would be the alternative opinion? Hu ha'ola al hadas b'techilas hamakshava ve'iyu. The Salkadaita Chamina is what comes to your mind in the beginning of your thinking and your investigation. It's your v'nikra svar bibuchut. It's a very important statement. This is called svar bibuchut. This is before you came to the text what you would have thought. That's called Salkadaita Chamina. Therefore, I always have to produce in a text which seems obvious a alternative position that you would have thought, and therefore the text becomes meaningful and a chiddush. And we could say, Kamash Mlan, once we now know what you would have thought, the alternative position, we could say, therefore, the text comes to teach us this new idea. Hu hasvara ha'emitis v'amuka shel halacha. the Kamash Malan is the true svara and the depth of the halacha. Ben b'divrei Torah or Mishnah or Talmud. Whether we're talking about a statement in the Torah, the Mishnah, or the Talmud, the Kamash Malan will always be the true essence of what the statement has to communicate. So here's an example that he brought before. We'll go over it again to get a physical example of this concept. It says in Nida, Daf Yud Beis, Tana Rabbanan Isha She'ein La Vesed, a woman that doesn't have a period. She's Asura L'Shamesh, husband can't live with her. Ve'ein La Kasuva, and she doesn't get her Kasuva, V'lo Peros, and doesn't get fed, V'lo Mizonos, V'lo Beluas, or clothes. She gets no benefits. And the Yetze, she has to be divorced, V'lo Yaksir Olomis, and she can never be taken back. So a woman who unfortunately has this medical problem gets no husband. I don't know why I didn't know before, but he didn't. He found out afterwards. Maybe she was young, whatever. Or maybe it developed, whatever it was. But whatever it is, when the woman is in that condition, he has to divorce her and never remarry her. That's the opinion of Reb Meir. So the Gemara has a kasha, and it says, Yotze v'lo yaksi olamis b'shita. He has to divorce her and not remarry her. It's obvious, of course. I mean, why is he divorcing her? Because she has this problem. So of course you can't take her back because she has the problem. So the statement of Reb Meir, the second part, which says v'lo yaksi olamis, seems to be totally extraneous. It's obvious. I mean, you just say the Yetze, period. And we know he can't take her back because it's us to marry her. We just have to divorce her again. Okay, so we have to now provide a meaning of Reb Meir's statement that says she can't come back. So we have to produce a havamina, what you would have thought. So we say, the Gemara says, Lo tzricha. We do need a statement. Dahada ve'itkana, because maybe after he divorced her, she all of a sudden had her cycle, her period. So now she's healthy. The mahu desema. What would you have thought if after he divorced her she became normal again? Lahadar. Okay, now he could take her back, right? Kamash Malan. So the statement comes to teach us, no, he can't take her back, even if she does get well. Why? Zimnin da azla nasve u mitkanes. It could happen that after he divorced her, she'll become healed, and she'll have her, she'll be well again, and she'll remarry. And the original Baal would say, the Yomer ilu hayiti yodea shechein hu, if I would have known that she was going to become a normal woman, afilu hayo notnim li mea mana lo hayisi mitgarsha, I would have never divorced her. V'nimsa get batel, so then, since the man divorced her on Tanai, ubaneha mamzer, and then her children will be mamzer because the whole get was al Tanai. It's more of a Lashon Hara thing, but in the Pashat of here. But anyway, what we're trying to understand is, Reb Meir said he can't take her back. That seemed to be obvious because she had this condition. So the Gemara says no. The Hiddush of Reb Meir is even if she gets well, he can't take her back. Well, why not? She's well now. Why can't he remarry her? It's a gezerah. Because in this case, maybe he would take her back and everything would be fine. But in other cases, if she remarried, then the first husband would be motzi laz on her and say, wait a minute, I knew she was well, maybe she could get better, I never would have divorced her. And therefore, people will say it was only a get al tanai, and since the get on the condition wasn't fulfilled, and that she was sick and she got better, so the condition wasn't fulfilled. The get is batal, and the new children are mamzerim. So Rabbi said we have to make a gezerah that once he divorces her because of this reason, he can never take her back. So those are the three steps. The first seems obvious, Peshita, that he can never take her back because she's sick forever. That's what we thought. The answer is no. What's the chiddush? Even if she gets better, he can't take her back. Why? Why? Because if we let her take her back, then we run into the problem of him being mostly laws on her and saying, I would have never divorced her if she was well. Okay, so that's the three very important rules. And remember, if one of the most important elements of this sefer is to explain to us that nothing is obvious. In other words, whenever we see something that's obvious, we have to ask ourselves, wait a minute, why does it have to be said? Now the question is, what makes things Peshita? Okay, so we explained if it's written somewhere, if it's obvious because of Teva. Okay, so then it doesn't have to be said. So every statement that we look at always has to tell us something that we would have thought opposite. The Svara Chitzona, the outside reasoning would have said not what the statement is saying. And we always have to produce that. When we can't produce it, we have the kasha, of Peshita. And then to get to the depth of the meaning here, we have to think about why it was said and come to the new realization that there's a chiddush here in halacha. Okay, those are the rules there. Okay, this one I'm just going to, we'll read through this one. It's another common one. Ukasher tananos and mishpat vishnei nosin. When a Tana gives you the law in two different cases, case A and case B. Be'echad l'chayev u'b'sheni liftor. The first case he says is chayev, and he says the second case is pater. So he says, Sarak sheyeh shnei nos'im b'tor echad u'ba'ofen echad. They both, the statement should be in the same condition. They should be talking about the same case, except with a variation, but with one variation. They shouldn't be talking about two wildly disparate things. Okay, Shim Lo Kain. If the second case is not the same type of case with a new condition, so the Gemara says the liflo v'lisnei b'dido. Why do you have to make a new case? Okay, in other words, you have case A and case B. They should really be case A is chayev and case B is pater. But the two cases should be, he says, lined up with each other, which means that if it, what he really should be saying here, I mean, what I understand here is that two cases can't be, the second case can't be a sniff of the first case, cannot be a subcategory of the second case. Because if that's true, why did you have to come on to a new case? He says, I looked here in Baba Kama, I just couldn't see it very quickly, but I brought another case here. Let's see if we can see what it says here. Tashma, it says in Devarim, when a woman sees someone fighting with her husband, and she grabs her private parts. And it says in the pasuk, "V'katzasa eskapa mamon." It says, "V'katzasa eskapa," her hand should be cut off. And the Brisa says, no. If she hurts the person, so she has to pay back a monetary. If she has to pay back with money the person who she hurt. So the The Gemara says, "My la b'she'eno yochel lahatzil al yedei davar acher." Aren't we talking about a case that she's honest? She took the only way she could get this person from stopping him to fight is if she grabbed his private parts, and therefore we see, and what was the upshot of this Gemara, that a person is allowed to take the law into his own hands. Only in a case where there's no other alternative. Excuse me, that's not true. Even in a case where there's no other alternative, they want to prove that you can't take the law into your own hands, because it looks like here there was no other alternative. She had to stop this man from attacking her husband, wherever, and she damaged him, his private parts, and she has to pay. So it must mean that she had no other alternative, and that's what she did in order to stop the fight, and she still has to pay, which means that what? Even if there's no other way, you're not allowed to take the law in your own hands. It's the whole diyun over there. So, so that's, we want to bring a proof that that's true. So the Gemara is dochek, and it says, no, the pasuk is talking about where she had another way of stopping the attacker. Okay? So if you have another way of stopping the attacker, so that's why she has to pay. If she had another way, to be honest, she wouldn't have to pay. So the Gemara says, wait a minute. If you're going to say that this is talking about a case where she had another way to stop the fight besides doing what she did, so it would come out of al eni yochol lahatzil al yedei davar acher pater. But the din would be that if she did not have another way out, it would be she wouldn't have to pay. So the Gemara says, if that's true, adatan seifa v'shilcha yada prat l'shliach beis din. When it was taught in the Sefer of the Mishnah that v'shalcha yada, that's the one that has to pay, but the shliach beis din doesn't have to pay. He's butter. So if it's true that she also, there's a case when she doesn't have to pay also, lift log v'lisnei b'didah. Why go to a case of shliach beis din? Just say this case that you're talking about. So if it were true that the Mishnah was talking about a case where she could be, excuse me, if it was true that she could be pater when there was no other way to stop the fight, then we should have, in the Mishnah, in the first case that says, in the Sefer that talks about the Shliach beis din is pater, should have talked about her. Said, she's chayev when there was another way out, but she would be pater if there was no other way out. That's what it should have said. It should have brought the same case and just showed in which case is she chayev, in which case she's pater. It only brought one case that she's chayev. And then it switched the scene to the beis din and said it's the beis din case that's pater. Well, if it's true that there was a case where she is pater, then the Mishnah should have written two variations. The one that it did right, and this new variation where, should have added in this condition. It should have said, when did we say that she's chayev? That's when there was no way out. But if there was a way out, she would be pater. That's called split up the case into two parts and teach it. So the point being here is that when you have two cases mentioned in the Mishnah, here the case of the woman and here the case of the shliach beis din. Okay, one, the woman, it says, is chayev when she's cuts her eskapa. She has to pay money when she hurts this man. And another case where the shliach is pater when he hurts a person, he's on shlich based in, okay, and we want to know in which cases she chayiv. So it should be from the Mishnah that she's chayiv in all cases. Because if she's putter in a case, then the Mishnah should have broken up her din into two parts and not switched the scene to the base din. So that's called liflag v'lisnei v'dito. Okay. Okay. Now, here's the third little section here. He speaks about Kashiyesh cholek al hagdama ein lahakshos peshita. Okay, he says, if someone argues about a principle, okay, you see in front of you, so if once there's an argument, then the person who's writing it has a chiddush. So that's what we said. You always have to look. He says, "Afim yir shehu b'tachlis peshitus." Even if it looks like it's pashut, so sometimes the Gemara will say, "Wait a minute, this looks obvious." So the Gemara will say, "Ki yom lecha omru." So you always have to make sure that when you say Peshita, that there's no other dissenting opinion. Okay? Look, it brings the Rashi of the Tosfos. Amai Peshita Hoshmua Bekamre V'Yetur Duk V'Tishkach. So he shows you that this rule is a rule because the Rush has a problem with this Gemara, because the Gemara says kasafim harehem kakarka, and then asks, wait a minute, it's an obvious statement, and the Rush says, wait a minute, it's not an obvious statement because there's a bar machlokas. So even over here it may be peshita. That's the rule he wants to bring out, is that whenever the Gemara says a statement, even in a place it may look peshita, you have to make sure that there's no other cholek. You really shouldn't say peshita if there's a cholek on it, even though it seems that it's in the place may be peshita. Okay, let's we'll do a few more minutes here. We'll do Siman Tezvah.
You know, could we stop, because I have to run to a meeting. So.
Okay, that's good. No, that's good. Let's stop here. So it's actually a very good place to stop.
Okay.
Okay, Baseda. Have a good week.
Okay, you too.
Whatever left of it, and slowly. I'm really excited to. What I want to do after we finish this will probably take us another week or so, not too long, because it's really just very short. Is to take a real. It's actually that's it. There's only one. This is the end. This is the last chapter. So is to really take a good example and to go through it together.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
All right.
Have a great day.
You too. Thank you. Okay, bye.